You flop into the world like someone tripping into a surprise party they weren't invited to. The transition from warm, floating darkness to cold, demanding reality is jarring enough to make you question the entire enterprise of existence. Your mother, exhausted from the effort of bringing you and your siblings into being, watches with the weary expression of someone who's performed this miracle before and knows exactly how much work lies ahead. The den smells like wet earth and possibility, though you wouldn't know possibility if it bit you on your tiny, useless tail. What you do know is that you're suddenly very hungry, and the milk situation is more complicated than it should be. Your siblings, already squirming with practiced efficiency, seem to have figured out the basic mechanics of survival while you're still trying to understand why breathing requires conscious effort. Your first attempts at movement are studies in physics gone wrong. Legs, you discover, are not merely decorative appendages but functional tools that require coordination. This coordination, unfortunately, appears to be sold separately and not included in your basic wolf starter kit. You flail helplessly while your brothers and sisters navigate the den with what seems like supernatural competence. The world outside the den calls with sounds that speak to something deep in your genetic memory, but reaching that world requires mastering the fundamental skill of not falling over. This proves more challenging than anticipated. Your mother's patient nudging helps, but there's only so much she can do to compensate for your spectacular lack of natural grace. Wrestling with basic functions becomes your full-time occupation. Walking is apparently optional, which is fortunate because you haven't figured it out yet. Your tail, which should theoretically help with balance, seems to have its own agenda and frequently works against your already compromised stability. The conspiracy of your own body parts is your first introduction to the concept that life might not be as straightforward as initially advertised. Your siblings demonstrate an annoying tendency toward competence that makes your own struggles feel more pronounced. They stumble less, whine more effectively, and seem to have intuitive knowledge about which end of mother produces the good stuff. You, meanwhile, spend considerable time investigating the wrong end entirely, which earns you gentle but firm redirection. The den's walls close around you like a comfortable prison, protecting you from a world you're not ready to face while simultaneously reminding you that this protection is temporary. Somewhere beyond the earthen boundaries lies a vast wilderness that your species has claimed as home for thousands of years. The weight of this legacy sits heavily on your unsteady shoulders. Your first sleep comes in fits and starts, interrupted by the basic needs of your tiny body and the mysterious sounds that filter through the den walls. Dreams, when they come, are strange combinations of inherited memories and immediate sensory experiences. You dream of running before you can walk, of hunting before you understand prey, of howling before you find your voice. The late spring air carries scents that speak to instincts you don't yet understand. Something in the warming earth calls to the wild thing you're supposed to become, but between your current incompetence and that future lies an apparently insurmountable gulf of learning. Your mother's presence provides comfort, but even she cannot bridge the gap between what you are and what you're meant to be. As your first day in the world draws to a close, you nestle against the warm bulk of your family and contemplate the magnitude of the task ahead. Learning to be a wolf, it seems, is not a skill that comes naturally, despite what millions of years of evolution might suggest. The world beyond the den waits with infinite patience for you to figure out how to join it. But first, you need to master the revolutionary concepts of standing up and staying that way. The world is blurry and loud, which seems like poor design. When your eyes finally decide to cooperate and focus on something other than indistinct shapes, you discover that clarity doesn't necessarily improve the situation. Everything is enormous, everything moves wrong, and everything seems to have opinions about your existence that you're not equipped to understand or address. Your first attempts at standing are exercises in optimism over physics. Gravity, you learn, is not negotiable, and it has a particular fondness for demonstrating its authority over small, uncoordinated wolves. The den floor becomes intimately familiar as you make repeated, involuntary contact with it. Your legs, theoretical tools of locomotion, seem to have been designed by someone who had only heard descriptions of walking second-hand. Walking proves to be an even more ambitious undertaking than standing. The concept appears simple enough: place one paw in front of the other in a coordinated sequence, but the execution requires a level of neuromuscular cooperation that your system hasn't achieved. Your siblings, displaying their characteristic and annoying competence, navigate the den with increasing confidence while you career from wall to wall like a furry pinball. Not falling over becomes your most realistic goal, though even this proves challenging. The world tilts at unexpected angles. Your inner ear provides unreliable intelligence about your position in space, and your tail continues its campaign of sabotage against your already compromised balance. You begin to suspect that your tail might be working for the enemy, though you haven't identified the enemy yet. Your mother watches your stumbling with the expression of someone who's seen this movie before and knows how it ends. Her patience seems infinite, but you detect subtle signs of resignation in her demeanor. She offers guidance through gentle nudging and strategic placement of her own body to prevent your more spectacular failures, but there's only so much she can do to compensate for your fundamental lack of coordination. The sibling dynamics in your small pack become increasingly apparent as your senses sharpen. Your brothers and sisters are apparently naturals, or at least better at faking it. They stumble less, recover more quickly, and seem to have intuitive understanding of den navigation that you lack. Their success makes your failures feel more pronounced, though you suspect this might be a theme in your development. Summer light filters through the den entrance, warming your uncoordinated pores and hinting at the vast world beyond your current boundaries. The quality of light changes throughout the day, creating a rhythm that speaks to something deep in your genetic programming. Morning light is sharp and demanding, afternoon light is warm and forgiving, and evening light is soft and contemplative. Your first attempts at communication beyond basic hunger signals prove as challenging as your physical development. The sounds that emerge from your throat bear little resemblance to the purposeful vocalizations you hear from the adult wolves. Your attempts at whimpering sound like rusty hinges, your efforts at growling resemble clearing your throat, and your experimental howls are better left undescribed. The sensory world expands daily as your nervous system develops. Smells become more distinct and meaningful. Sounds resolve into identifiable sources, and the touch of different surfaces provides information about texture, temperature, and stability. This sensory explosion is both fascinating and overwhelming, requiring constant processing and integration that taxes your developing brain. Your relationship with your own body becomes increasingly complex as you gain awareness of its various components and their theoretical functions. Paws, you discover, are not just for walking, but for digging, scratching, and investigating. Your nose, beyond its obvious role in breathing, provides detailed information about the world that your eyes cannot deliver. Your ears, still comically oversized, swivel independently to track sounds and occasionally tangle with each other. The den's familiar boundaries become both comfort and limitation as your mobility improves. You know every depression in the earthen floor, every root that protrudes from the walls, every play of light and shadow throughout the daily cycle. This knowledge provides security, but also creates restlessness as you become aware of the larger world beyond your immediate experience. The world is enormous and everything moves wrong. Your first steps outside the den are tentative, overwhelmed by the sheer scale of everything beyond your familiar boundaries. The sky, an impossible expanse of blue and white, seems to press down with its vastness. The ground beneath your paws feels different, less predictable than the smooth earth of the den floor, full of unexpected textures and obstacles that challenge your still developing coordination. The overwhelming sensory experience hits you like a physical force. Everything smells like wet socks and optimism, a combination that shouldn't make sense but somehow captures the essence of early summer in the wilderness. The air moves constantly, carrying information you can't yet decode, but that speaks to instincts you don't understand. Sounds layer upon sounds, bird calls, rustling leaves, distant water, the subtle movement of small creatures through underbrush, creating a symphony that your ears aren't equipped to pass. Your first encounter with a butterfly becomes a 10-minute standoff where you're clearly outmatched. The creature, a modest orange and black specimen, flutters with casual confidence while you crouch in what you imagine is a threatening position. Your stalking technique needs work. You're too loud, too obvious, and too easily distracted by your own shadow. The butterfly, apparently unimpressed by your display of predatory intent, eventually flies away, leaving you to contemplate the first in what will undoubtedly be a long series of hunting failures. The discovery of your own shadow provides immediate cause for concern. This dark, persistent follower mimics your movements with unsettling accuracy and requires immediate investigation. Your attempts to catch it lead to frustrated, circling, confused pouncing, and the gradual realization that you might be engaged in a battle you cannot win. The shadow's ability to disappear and reappear based on your position relative to the sun adds an element of supernatural mystery to the encounter. Your investigation of the shadow leads to the discovery of your tail, which you'd somehow failed to notice despite its attachment to your body. This appendage, you realize, has been sabotaging your balance efforts from the beginning. Your attempts to catch it result in dizziness and existential confusion as you spin in increasingly tight circles, creating a feedback loop of motion that ends with you collapsed on the ground, panting and slightly nauseous. The natural world operates according to rules you don't understand. Plants grow in seemingly random patterns, insects follow incomprehensible flight paths, and the wind carries messages in a language you haven't learned. Your mother and the other adults navigate this chaos with supernatural competence, reading signs and signals that might as well be written in an alien script for all the sense they make to you. A falling leaf becomes the subject of intense investigation. Its erratic descent triggers something in your hunting instincts, and you launch into what you imagine is a predatory pursuit. The leaf, already dead, and therefore technically defeated, nevertheless manages to evade your clumsy pounces through the simple expedient of weighing almost nothing and responding to air currents you cannot anticipate. Your hunting technique, you realize, needs fundamental revision. The texture of grass beneath your paws provides a new sensory experience that's both pleasant and disconcerting. Each blade bends differently under your weight, creating an unstable surface that requires constant adjustment. Walking on grass is like walking on a living carpet that responds to your presence, and you're not sure whether this responsiveness is helpful or hindering your mobility efforts. Your first encounter with a beetle becomes an exercise in patience and futility. The insect, focused on its own mysterious agenda, ignores your presence entirely. Your attempts to engage it in some form of interaction, whether play, hunt, or conversation, meet with indifference that's both frustrating and somehow insulting. The beetle's ability to navigate obstacles that would trip you up highlights the vast gap between your current capabilities and basic competence. The sounds of the forest create an acoustic environment that's both comforting and overwhelming. Bird songs provide a constant soundtrack that seems to comment on your activities, though you suspect the commentary is not favorable. The rustling of leaves speaks to the constant movement of the world around you, a reminder that while you're struggling with basic mobility, the rest of creation continues its business with apparent ease. Your exploration reveals that the world beyond the den is full of mysteries that will require significant development to understand. Water flows in patterns that suggest destination and purpose. Plants grow in arrangements that hint at underlying logic, and the movement of clouds across the sky follows rules that govern weather and season. Your current understanding of these phenomena is approximately zero, which feels like a significant disadvantage. Hunting practice begins with stalking a leaf that's already dead, which should theoretically improve your odds of success. Unfortunately, the leaf's deceased status doesn't prevent it from demonstrating superior tactical awareness. Your approach lacks subtlety, you're too loud, too obvious, and too easily distracted by interesting smells, unexpected sounds, and the persistent problem of your own feet. The leaf, despite being brown, brittle, and technically defeated by autumn, manages to evade your clumsy pounces through the simple expedient of weighing almost nothing and responding to air currents you cannot predict or control. The pack dynamics become increasingly apparent as you spend more time observing the adults in action. They move with annoying competence, their every action purposeful and efficient. Where you stumble, they flow. Where you hesitate, they decide. Where you fail, they succeed with the kind of casual confidence that suggests they've never experienced the humiliation of being outmaneuvered by dead vegetation. Their coordination seems supernatural, as if they're operating from a manual you haven't received or can't read. Your first howl attempt produces a sound that resembles a rusty gate complaining about the weather. The adult's howling is a symphony of coordination and communication, their voices blending into harmonies that speak of pack unity and territorial claims. Your contribution to this musical tradition sounds like someone stepped on a squeaky toy. The other wolves politely ignore your vocalization efforts, but you detect subtle signs of second-hand embarrassment in their body language. Learning to read the wind becomes an exercise in frustration and mystery. The adults constantly sample the air, their noses working with scientific precision to decode messages carried on the breeze. The wind tells stories you can't understand yet, but it tastes like coming rain, distant prey, and the territorial markings of other wolves. Your attempts to interpret these aerial communications result in confused sniffing, occasional sneezing, and the gradual realization that your nose, while functional, is not yet calibrated to the frequency of wilderness intelligence. The concept of pack hierarchy becomes uncomfortably clear as you observe the subtle interactions between the adults. Every movement, every glance, every position in the group carries, meaning that speaks to a social structure you're only beginning to understand. Your position in this hierarchy is clear: you're below everyone, including your siblings, and possibly below some of the more assertive squirrels. This knowledge is both humbling and motivating, though mostly humbling. Your attempts at intimidation fail spectacularly when tested against a particularly bold chipmunk. The small creature, apparently unimpressed by your display of what you imagine is predatory menace, continues its business of gathering nuts while you crouch in what you hope is a threatening position. Your growling sounds like clearing your throat, your posture suggests uncertainty rather than dominance, and your tail betrays your intentions by wagging involuntarily. The chipmunk eventually moves on, but you suspect this is due to boredom rather than fear. The adult's hunting techniques appear to involve a level of coordination and planning that makes your own efforts look like random movement. They position themselves with strategic precision, communicate through subtle signals you can't decode, and execute their plans with the kind of efficiency that suggests years of practice and natural talent. Your hunting strategy, by contrast, appears to involve running directly at things and hoping for the best. This approach has a success rate of approximately 0. Evening settles like a comfortable blanket, and you're finally tired enough to stop embarrassing yourself. The transition from day to night brings different sounds, different smells, and different challenges. Night hunting requires skills you haven't developed, senses you haven't sharpened, and confidence you haven't earned. The adults adapt to these changing conditions with the same supernatural competence they display during daylight hours, while you struggle to navigate familiar territory in the altered acoustics of darkness. Your relationship with your own body continues to evolve as you gain awareness of its capabilities and limitations. Coordination requires constant attention, balance demands continuous adjustment, and the simple act of moving from one place to another involves more variables than you initially realized. Your paws, which should theoretically support your weight and provide propulsion, sometimes work against each other in ways that suggest they're operating from different instruction manuals. The forest's rhythms begin to make sense on a basic level, even if you can't yet participate effectively in its daily cycles. Morning brings increased activity as creatures emerge to forage and hunt. Afternoon provides a pause in the intense activity as the heat builds. Evening triggers a different kind of activity as nocturnal creatures begin their routines. Your understanding of these patterns is rudimentary, but it represents progress from your initial state of complete bewilderment. Growing pains manifest in ways that make your previous incompetence seem almost elegant by comparison. Your paws are too big, your ears are too floppy, and coordination remains a distant aspiration rather than an achieved skill. The proportions of your body seem to change daily, creating new challenges for basic functions you thought you'd mastered. Walking becomes a fresh adventure in physics as your legs grow at different rates, your center of gravity shifts unpredictably, and your spatial awareness struggles to keep up with your expanding physical boundaries. Your ears, now comically oversized relative to your head, provide excellent hearing but terrible aerodynamics. They catch on branches, flop into your eyes at crucial moments, and occasionally tangle with each other in ways that require assistance to resolve. The enhanced hearing they provide makes the world even more overwhelming, as you're now aware of sounds that were previously beyond your range. Every rustling leaf, every distant bird call, every subtle movement in the underbrush demands your attention and threatens to overload your processing capacity. The first real hunt observation provides a masterclass in competence that makes your own efforts look like interpretive dance. Watching the adults work is like watching magic, if magic involved teeth, strategy, and the kind of coordination that suggests telepathic communication. They move as a unit, anticipating each other's actions, positioning themselves with mathematical precision, and executing their plan with the kind of efficiency that comes from years of practice and natural talent. Their success is so complete and so effortless that it seems to mock your own fumbling attempts at basic predatory behavior. Your position in the pack hierarchy becomes increasingly clear and increasingly uncomfortable. You're at the bottom of every social structure, including some you're pretty sure the squirrels invented specifically to exclude you. Your siblings, demonstrating their characteristic ability to master skills that elude you, begin to show signs of competence that threaten to leave you behind. Their improved coordination, their successful hunting attempts, and their growing confidence create a gap between your abilities and theirs that seems to widen daily. The development of your individual personality becomes apparent through your consistent pattern of failure and your responses to that failure. You're naturally suspicious of overconfidence, including your own, having learned through painful experience that optimism about your abilities is usually misplaced. This suspicion extends to easy solutions, obvious paths, and anything that seems too straightforward to be true. Your approach to new challenges is characterized by cautious pessimism and thorough preparation for disappointment. Your relationship with the other pack members becomes more complex as you develop distinct preferences and aversions. Some adults demonstrate more patience with your incompetence than others, while some of your siblings seem to take active pleasure in your continued struggles. These social dynamics add another layer of complexity to your already challenging existence, as you must navigate not only the physical challenges of being a wolf, but also the social challenges of being a particularly inept wolf. The forest's seasonal rhythms become more apparent as summer deepens, and you gain experience with the passage of time. The quality of light changes throughout the day and throughout the weeks, creating patterns that speak to the turning of seasons and the passage of time. Plants grow and change, insects emerge and disappear, and the behavior of prey animals shifts in response to conditions you're only beginning to understand. Your awareness of these patterns represents progress, even if your ability to respond to them remains limited. Your hunting skills, while still essentially non-existent, show signs of theoretical improvement. You're beginning to understand the concept of stealth, even if you can't achieve it. You're developing an appreciation for strategy, even if you can't implement it. You're learning to read the behavior of prey animals, even if you can't exploit their patterns. This theoretical knowledge feels like progress, even though it doesn't translate into practical success. The concept of patience becomes increasingly relevant as you realize that your development is going to take considerably longer than anticipated. Your initial optimism about quickly mastering the skills of wolfhood has been replaced by a more realistic understanding of the learning curve ahead. This realization is both discouraging and liberating, as it allows you to adjust your expectations and focus on incremental progress rather than dramatic transformation. Summer deepens around you, bringing longer days, warmer nights, and increased activity throughout the forest. The abundance of the season provides opportunities for learning and growth, even if those opportunities often result in failure. Your mistakes become more sophisticated, your failures more instructive, and your small successes more meaningful. The world continues to be enormous and challenging, but you're beginning to develop the tools and understanding necessary to navigate it, even if those tools remain largely theoretical. You're starting to suspect that this whole being a wolf thing might be more complicated than advertised, but you're also beginning to understand that complexity doesn't necessarily mean impossibility. The adults around you were presumably once as incompetent as you are now, which suggests that improvement is possible, even if it requires more time and effort than you initially anticipated. The journey from fumbling puphood to functional wolfhood stretches ahead of you, daunting but not insurmountable, challenging but not impossible. The rabbit that becomes the subject of your first real hunt clearly didn't get the memo about being prey. It sits in the clearing with the kind of casual confidence that suggests it's never encountered a predator worth worrying about, which, considering your track record, might be accurate. The creature is plump, well-groomed, and apparently oblivious to the fact that you're crouched behind a bush, vibrating with predatory intent and nervous energy in equal measure. Your strategy represents months of theoretical preparation, meeting the harsh reality of practical application. You plan to combine stealth with confidence, moving with the fluid grace you've observed in the adult wolves, striking with the decisive precision that marks successful predators. The gap between planning and execution, however, proves to be roughly the size of the entire forest. Your stealth sounds like someone rearranging furniture in heavy boots. Your confidence evaporates the moment you move, and your grace resembles someone learning to walk on ice while wearing flippers. The approach phase of your hunt unfolds like a slow-motion disaster. Every step you take seems to find the one stick guaranteed to crack under pressure. Every movement you make catches on vegetation that apparently exists solely to betray your position. The rabbit's ears twitch occasionally, suggesting awareness of your presence, but it doesn't flee. This could indicate either supreme confidence in its ability to escape or a complete inability to perceive you as a threat. Given your performance so far, the latter seems more likely. Your heart pounds, with the kind of intensity usually reserved for life-threatening situations, which this technically is, though not in the way you'd prefer. The adrenaline coursing through your system makes your movements even more erratic, your breathing more labored, and your decision-making more questionable. You're simultaneously overexcited and underprepared, a combination that rarely leads to success in any endeavor, particularly those involving the capture of unwilling prey. The final approach requires crossing an open space that offers no cover and no possibility of concealment. Your only advantage is speed, which you've never demonstrated, and surprise, which you've already compromised through your noisy advance. The rabbit looks up as you emerge from your inadequate hiding place, and for a moment, you make eye contact. The creature's expression suggests mild curiosity rather than terror, which is not the reaction you were hoping to inspire. The chase begins with 15 seconds of pure optimism. You launch yourself forward with all the explosive power your young body can muster, your legs pumping with mechanical precision, your focus narrowed to the rapidly moving target ahead. For a brief, glorious moment, you feel like the predator you're meant to be, fast and focused and deadly. The rabbit's initial surprise gives you hope that this time might be different, that your months of preparation might finally pay off. Reality arrives with the subtlety of a falling tree. The rabbit's escape pattern involves sudden direction changes that your momentum cannot match, vertical leaps that your physics cannot replicate, and a thorough knowledge of the terrain that your experience cannot compete with. You find yourself running in increasingly desperate circles, your initial burst of speed giving way to labored breathing and growing frustration. The rabbit, meanwhile, seems to be enjoying the exercise. Your pursuit takes you through brambles that grab at your fur, over fallen logs that catch your paws, and through patches of mud that slow your progress and compromise your traction. The rabbit navigates these obstacles with the kind of effortless competence that makes your struggles look even more pathetic. Its movement is fluid where yours is jerky, efficient where yours is wasteful, and successful where yours is increasingly futile. The anticlimax arrives when you realize that the rabbit has disappeared entirely, leaving you panting in a small clearing with no idea which direction it went. Your first real hunt ends not with triumphant success or even honorable failure, but with a kind of complete bewilderment that makes you question whether you're actually a predator at all. The rabbit's escape is so thorough that you begin to wonder if it was ever there in the first place. The pack's reaction to your hunting failure is carefully neutral, which is somehow worse than outright criticism. They pretend not to notice your return, empty-pawed and winded, mud-stained and defeated. Their studied indifference is a kindness, but it also highlights the gap between your performance and their expectations. You realize that your failure was so complete that it doesn't even merit commentary. The lesson learned from this experience is both humbling and practical. Hunting, you discover, is less about wanting it and more about not wanting to starve. The desire to succeed is not sufficient to guarantee success, and enthusiasm cannot compensate for lack of skill. The adult wolf's hunting success, which you'd previously attributed to natural talent, reveals itself to be the product of years of practice, countless failures, and hard-won experience. Your understanding of the hunting process undergoes significant revision following this experience. What you'd previously seen as simple pursuit and capture reveals itself to be a complex interaction of strategy, timing, physical ability, and environmental knowledge. The rabbit's escape wasn't just lucky, it was the result of superior understanding of the terrain, better physical conditioning, and more effective decision-making under pressure. The psychological impact of your first real hunting failure is significant but not devastating. While the experience is humbling, it also provides valuable information about your current capabilities and the areas that need improvement. You begin to understand that hunting success requires not just physical ability but also mental discipline, emotional control, and strategic thinking. These are skills that can be developed through practice and experience. The autumn air smells like dying leaves and fresh starts, a combination that seems perfectly suited to your current situation. The changing season brings new challenges and new opportunities, and your hunting failure becomes part of a larger pattern of learning and growth. The world around you is transitioning from the abundance of summer to the scarcity of winter, and your own development must accelerate to match the demands of the changing environment. Your relationship with failure begins to evolve as you process the experience of your first real hunt. Rather than seeing failure as a reflection of your fundamental inadequacy, you begin to understand it as a necessary part of the learning process. The adult wolf's success is built on a foundation of failures, and your own eventual success will require the same foundation of experience and learning. The pack's territory feels different in the aftermath of your hunting failure, as if your unsuccessful pursuit has somehow altered your relationship with the landscape. The familiar trails and clearings now carry the memory of your defeat, but they also represent opportunities for future attempts. The forest that witnessed your failure will also witness your eventual success, though that success feels impossibly distant from your current vantage point. Meeting the neighbors proves to be an educational experience that highlights the gap between your theoretical understanding of territorial behavior and the practical reality of interpack relations. The encounter occurs at one of the boundary markers that define your pack's territory, a collection of scent posts and territorial signs that supposedly communicate clear messages about ownership and boundaries. The other pack's youngster, equally unimpressive in appearance and bearing, approaches from the opposite direction with the kind of calculated casualness that suggests this meeting is not entirely accidental. The standoff that develops is a masterclass in adolescent posturing masquerading as mature territorial behavior. Both of you are trying to look intimidating while achieving something closer to mildly concerned. Your bristling fur adds bulk to your frame, but also makes you look like you've been electrocuted, while your attempts at a threatening stance suggest uncertainty rather than dominance. The other wolf's posturing is similarly unsuccessful, creating a tableau that would be comedy if it weren't so earnest. The psychological dynamics of the encounter are more complex than the physical posturing would suggest. Both of you are operating from incomplete understanding of territorial protocols, trying to apply lessons learned from observing adult behavior to a situation that requires improvisation and judgment. The result is a careful dance of mutual intimidation that neither participant fully understands, performed with the kind of serious intensity that only adolescence can bring to fundamentally absurd situations. Your attempts at intimidation involve a combination of direct eye contact, aggressive posturing, and vocalizations that are supposed to communicate dominance, but instead suggest that you might be experiencing digestive difficulties. The other wolf's response is similarly unconvincing, creating an escalating cycle of increasingly theatrical displays that neither of you can back down from without losing face. The situation becomes a test of will disguised as a territorial dispute. The bristling phase of the encounter involves both wolves puffing up their fur in an attempt to appear larger and more threatening. This technique, while effective when employed by mature wolves, produces less impressive results when used by adolescents whose fur is still developing its adult texture and density. The overall effect is more surprised than dangerous, though both participants maintain their serious demeanor throughout the process. Posturing becomes an elaborate ritual of position and movement designed to communicate dominance without actually initiating physical contact. You circle each other at a careful distance, maintaining eye contact while demonstrating your theoretical fighting ability through a series of feints, lunges, and aggressive stances. The choreography is complex but ultimately meaningless, as neither participant is prepared to escalate the encounter to actual violence. The vocalizations that accompany the posturing represent your attempts to communicate territorial claims and dominance assertions through sound. Your growling lacks the deep resonance of adult wolves, producing instead a sound that suggests mild annoyance rather than mortal threat. The other wolf's vocal contributions are similarly unimpressive, creating a duet of unconvincing menace that would be more appropriate for a territorial dispute between irritated house cats. The resolution of the encounter arrives when both participants simultaneously realize that they're engaged in a performance that neither can win and neither wants to lose. The mutual recognition of the situation's absurdity creates an opportunity for face-saving retreat that both wolves eagerly embrace. The withdrawal is conducted with dignity and tact, and pride only slightly bruised, allowing both participants to claim some form of victory while avoiding the humiliation of complete defeat. The territorial lessons learned from this encounter extend beyond the immediate experience to broader questions about boundaries, respect, and the nature of conflict. Some lines, you discover, are worth defending because they represent important principles or valuable resources. Others are just lines, arbitrary divisions that exist more in concept than in reality. The art of territorial behavior involves learning to distinguish between these categories and responding appropriately to each. The psychological aftermath of the encounter involves processing the complex emotions of fear, excitement, embarrassment, and relief that characterize your first real territorial dispute. The experience provides valuable information about your own capabilities and limitations, while also offering insight into the behavior and motivations of wolves from other packs. The knowledge gained is both practical and theoretical, applicable to future encounters, and useful for understanding pack dynamics more generally. Your understanding of territorial behavior undergoes significant revision following this encounter. What you'd previously seen as simple aggression and dominance reveals itself to be a complex system of communication, negotiation, and conflict resolution. The adult wolf's territorial success is not based on superior fighting ability alone, but on better understanding of when to fight, when to retreat, and when to seek alternative solutions. The encounter's impact on your relationship with your own pack is subtle but significant. Your participation in territorial defense, however unsuccessful, represents a step toward adult responsibility and pack membership. The other wolves' awareness of your territorial encounter, even if they don't comment on it directly, contributes to their evolving perception of your capabilities and your commitment to pack welfare. The seasonal context of the encounter adds another layer of meaning to the experience. The first snow dusts the ground like powdered sugar on a world that's trying too hard, creating a landscape that emphasizes the artificial nature of territorial boundaries. The snow covers scent marks and obscures trails, making territorial claims more difficult to maintain and territorial disputes more likely to occur. The weather's role in territorial behavior becomes apparent as the snow accumulates and the familiar landscape transforms. Territorial markers become less reliable, boundary lines become less clear, and the challenges of maintaining territorial claims increase dramatically. The encounter with the neighboring pack's youngster takes on new significance as part of a broader pattern of territorial adjustment and renegotiation that accompanies seasonal change. Your reflection on the encounter reveals both personal growth and areas for continued development. The experience of facing another wolf in territorial dispute, even unsuccessfully, provides confidence and practical knowledge that will be valuable in future encounters. The recognition of your own limitations and the other wolf's similar struggles creates a foundation for understanding that territorial behavior is a learned skill rather than an innate ability. The memory of the encounter becomes part of your expanding understanding of pack life and territorial behavior. The experience joins your growing collection of failures, partial successes, and learning opportunities that are gradually building the foundation for eventual competence. The territorial dispute may have been inconclusive, but it represents progress toward the kind of mature territorial behavior that characterizes successful pack membership. The hunger that arrives with winter's full force transforms your relationship with food from casual interest to obsessive preoccupation. What was once a pleasurable activity becomes a matter of survival, and the comfortable abundance of summer gives way to the harsh calculations of scarcity. Every meal becomes precious, every hunting opportunity critical, and every calorie a victory against the relentless demands of cold and survival. The transformation is both physical and psychological, reshaping your priorities and your understanding of what it means to be a wolf in the wilderness. Food becomes less suggestion and more obsession as the forest's resources dwindle, and the pack's hunting success becomes increasingly crucial to everyone's survival. The casual attitude toward meals that characterized summer disappears, replaced by an intensity that makes every hunt feel like a life-or-death struggle. Your awareness of hunger sharpens, becoming a constant companion that influences every decision and colors every experience with the urgency of survival. Pack cooperation takes on new meaning when everyone's survival depends on not being the weakest link in the hunting chain. The casual hierarchies of summer give way to the practical necessities of winter, where competence matters more than dominance and contribution counts more than position. Your role in the pack's survival becomes a source of both pressure and motivation, driving you to improve your skills and overcome your limitations through sheer necessity. The collaborative nature of winter hunting requires a level of coordination and communication that your previous individual efforts never demanded. You must learn to work as part of a team, anticipating the movements of your packmates, responding to subtle signals, and subordinating your individual instincts to the group's strategic needs. The learning curve is steep, but the alternative failure that results in starvation provides powerful motivation for rapid improvement. Your first successful hunt arrives not through individual brilliance, but through your ability to fulfill a specific role in the pack's coordinated effort. The prey is a small deer, weakened by the harsh conditions, but still formidable enough to require the combined efforts of the entire pack. Your contribution is modest, but essential, maintaining pressure on the prey's flank, while the more experienced hunters execute the killing strike. The success tastes like vindication and rabbit, but more importantly, it tastes like survival. The psychological impact of your first hunting success extends beyond the immediate satisfaction of contribution to the pack's welfare. The experience provides proof that your months of training and failure have not been entirely wasted. That improvement is possible even for someone with your track record of incompetence. The success is modest, but it represents a fundamental shift in your relationship with hunting from theoretical exercise to practical necessity. The technical aspects of the successful hunt reveal the importance of patience, positioning, and timing in predatory behavior. Your role required maintaining steady pressure on the prey without triggering its escape reflexes, a delicate balance that demanded both physical control and psychological discipline. The success was less about individual brilliance than about understanding your place in the larger tactical picture and executing your assigned role with competence. The cold teaches you that comfort is earned rather than given, and that survival in winter requires active engagement with the environment rather than passive acceptance of conditions. The harsh weather strips away the casual luxuries of warmer seasons, forcing you to develop new skills and strategies for maintaining body heat, finding shelter, and conserving energy. Every aspect of your daily routine must be adapted to the demands of cold weather survival. Your relationship with the physical environment undergoes fundamental changes as winter deepens and the familiar landscape transforms into something alien and challenging. The territories you knew intimately in summer become treacherous in winter, with new obstacles, hidden dangers, and altered resource patterns. Navigation becomes more difficult, hunting becomes more challenging, and every journey requires careful planning and preparation. Finding your niche within the pack's hunting strategy becomes a process of discovering your strengths and compensating for your weaknesses. You're decent at tracking, with a natural ability to follow scent trails and interpret sign that surprises even you. You're terrible at ambushing, lacking the patience and positioning skills that effective ambush predators require. Surprisingly, you're good at patience, able to maintain focus and position for extended periods without losing concentration or becoming distracted. The development of your tracking skills provides a foundation for more significant contributions to the pack's hunting success. Your ability to follow scent trails, interpret territorial markings, and read the subtle signs of prey movement becomes increasingly valuable as winter hunting becomes more challenging. The skill develops naturally, building on instincts you weren't aware you possessed, and providing a sense of competence that has been notably absent from your previous efforts. Your failure at ambush hunting becomes a learning opportunity rather than a source of frustration, as you recognize that different wolves have different strengths, and that successful packs accommodate these differences rather than trying to force uniformity. The adult wolves' willingness to adjust their hunting strategies to accommodate your strengths while compensating for your weaknesses demonstrates the flexibility and adaptability that characterizes successful pack behavior. The discovery of your capacity for patience surprises everyone, including yourself. The ability to maintain focus and position for extended periods becomes a valuable asset in winter hunting, where opportunities are scarce and success often requires waiting for the perfect moment. This patience, which you'd previously seen as passivity, reveals itself to be an active skill that requires mental discipline and strategic thinking. Snow falls like the world's quietest applause, creating a landscape that is both beautiful and treacherous. The accumulation transforms familiar territories into alien environments, obscuring scent trails, muffling sounds, and creating new challenges for navigation and hunting. The snow's beauty is deceptive, hiding dangers and creating obstacles that require constant adaptation and vigilance. The acoustic environment of winter differs dramatically from summer's constant chatter and movement. The snow muffles sounds, creating a hushed landscape where every noise becomes significant and every silence potentially meaningful. Your developing tracking skills must adapt to these changed conditions, learning to read sign in snow, follow scent trails in cold air, and interpret the subtle sounds that indicate prey movement in the muffled landscape. The psychological challenges of winter extend beyond the physical hardships to include the mental strain of constant vigilance and the emotional stress of persistent hunger. The shortened days and extended nights create a rhythm that feels alien after the long, comfortable days of summer. Your ability to maintain morale and motivation becomes as important as your physical survival skills, requiring mental discipline and emotional resilience that you're still developing. The pack's social dynamics undergo subtle but significant changes as winter's pressures intensify the importance of cooperation and mutual support. Conflicts that might have been tolerated in summer become dangerous luxuries that the pack cannot afford. Your position within the group becomes less about dominance and more about contribution, creating opportunities for advancement based on competence rather than politics. Hormones arrive like unwelcome party guests who rearrange all the furniture in your carefully organized psychological landscape. The familiar patterns of thought and behavior that have governed your existence suddenly feel inadequate and inappropriate, replaced by new drives and interests that seem to come from somewhere outside your conscious control. The transformation is both exhilarating and terrifying, opening new possibilities while undermining the certainties that have sustained you through the challenging months of winter. The physical changes that accompany your hormonal awakening are dramatic and disorienting. Your body, which has finally reached some accommodation with coordination and balance, begins changing again in ways that require constant adjustment and adaptation. Your voice cracks at inappropriate moments. Your coordination becomes unpredictable, and your emotional responses to familiar situations become intense and sometimes irrational. New interests develop with the sudden intensity of conversion experiences. Suddenly, other wolves seem not just interesting but fascinating, their movements and behaviors worthy of detailed study and prolonged observation. The casual interactions that previously characterized your relationships with pack members take on new significance and complexity, charged with undertones and implications that you're only beginning to understand. Your developing awareness of other wolves as potential romantic partners creates a new category of social interaction that requires entirely different skills from those you've been developing. The hunting techniques and territorial behaviors that have occupied your attention for months suddenly seem less important than the mysterious arts of attraction and courtship. The transition is jarring, like discovering that you've been preparing for the wrong examination. The pack's territorial expansion provides your first real opportunity to demonstrate adult responsibility and competence. The move to new territory represents both opportunity and challenge, requiring the pack to abandon familiar ground and establish themselves in an unknown environment. Your role in this expansion, while still subordinate to the adult's leadership, involves real responsibility for the pack's welfare and security. Your assignment to scouting duties represents a significant vote of confidence from the pack leadership, an acknowledgement that your skills have developed to the point where you can be trusted with important responsibilities. The role requires independence, judgment, and the ability to make decisions that affect the pack's welfare. The weight of this responsibility is both exciting and intimidating, providing motivation for continued improvement while highlighting the consequences of failure. The scouting process involves systematic exploration of the new territory, mapping resources, identifying potential dangers, and establishing the boundaries that will define the pack's new home. Your tracking skills, developed through the harsh necessities of winter hunting, prove valuable in this new context, allowing you to read the landscape and interpret the signs that tell the story of the territory's inhabitants and resources. Your first real responsibility involves watching the perimeter while the pack establishes its new territorial claims. The task requires constant vigilance and the ability to distinguish between normal environmental activity and potential threats. Your success depends not just on your observational skills, but on your ability to make quick decisions about when to alert the pack and when to handle situations independently. The challenge of maintaining focus while performing perimeter duty proves more difficult than anticipated, as your attention is constantly drawn to interesting scents, unusual sounds, and the persistent problem of your own shadow, which continues to behave in ways that demand investigation. The balance between necessary vigilance and counterproductive distraction requires mental discipline that you're still developing. The coming-of-age moment arrives when you realize that you've stopped tripping over your own paws, a development so gradual that you only notice it in retrospect. The coordination that has eluded you for months suddenly feels natural and automatic, allowing you to focus on more complex challenges without the constant distraction of basic mobility issues. The change is subtle but profound, marking a transition from adolescence toward adult competence. Your improved physical coordination coincides with enhanced confidence and a more sophisticated understanding of your own capabilities and limitations. The self-awareness that comes with physical competence allows you to take on more challenging tasks and assume greater responsibilities within the pack structure. The development feels like emerging from a fog that you hadn't realized was obscuring your vision. The environmental shift that accompanies spring's arrival brings changes that mirror your own development. The world smells like mud and possibility, and this time you recognize possibility as a scent worth following. The abundance of new growth, the return of prey animals, and the overall sense of renewal create an environment that supports growth and change rather than mere survival. Your relationship with the territory becomes more sophisticated as you develop the ability to read the landscape like a complex text full of information about resources, dangers, and opportunities. The skills that seemed impossibly complex during your first explorations now feel natural and automatic, allowing you to gather information and make decisions based on environmental cues that were previously meaningless. The pack's social dynamics undergo subtle changes as spring brings new energy and new possibilities. The grim focus on survival that characterized winter gives way to a more relaxed and optimistic attitude that creates opportunities for play, exploration, and social interaction. Your own position within the pack benefits from this change, as your improved competence and increased responsibility earn you greater respect and inclusion. Your growing awareness of your own sexuality creates new categories of experience and interaction that require entirely different skills from those you've been developing. The casual relationships with pack members that have sustained you through childhood and adolescence suddenly feel inadequate and inappropriate, replaced by new desires and interests that seem to come from somewhere outside your conscious control. The spring awakening affects not just your individual development, but your understanding of the pack's long-term goals and strategies. The territorial expansion, the establishment of new hunting grounds, and the overall sense of growth and possibility create a context in which your own development feels part of a larger pattern of renewal and change. Your reflection on the changes that spring brings reveals both personal growth and areas for continued development. The physical coordination and increased responsibility represent real progress, but they also highlight the challenges that lie ahead as you continue the transition from adolescence to full adult membership in the pack. The journey is far from complete, but the direction is clear and the progress is unmistakable. Attraction arrives like a freight train driven by someone who's never seen tracks, derailing your carefully constructed sense of competence and sending your emotional equilibrium spinning into unfamiliar territory. The object of your romantic interest is a young female from a neighboring pack, encountered during one of your increasingly frequent perimeter patrols. She moves with the kind of natural grace that makes your own improved coordination look clumsy, speaks with confidence that highlights your uncertainty, and demonstrates hunting skills that remind you of your own continued limitations. Your approach to courtship combines confidence with charm, or at least that's the intention. The execution involves neither, resulting in a series of interactions that showcase your ability to transform even simple conversations into exhibitions of social incompetence. Your attempts at impressive displays of hunting prowess result in spectacular failures that seem designed to demonstrate your unsuitability as a potential mate. Every gesture intended to convey maturity and competence instead reinforces your status as an adolescent, still learning the basics of adult behavior. The competitive environment of courtship introduces you to other males who apparently read the manual on being impressive, a document that seems to have been distributed to everyone except you. These rivals display the kind of effortless competence that you've been working months to achieve, coupled with social skills that make your own efforts look like the fumbling attempts of someone who learned about wolf behavior from poorly written textbooks. Your rivals' advantages extend beyond mere competence to include physical attributes that seem designed to highlight your own shortcomings. They are larger, faster, and more coordinated than you, with voices that suggest maturity and authority rather than the unpredictable cracking that characterizes your own vocalizations. Their hunting skills are demonstrably superior, their territorial confidence is unshakable, and their social interactions flow with the kind of natural ease that you can only watch and envy. The psychological challenge of competing with obviously superior rivals requires developing new strategies and finding ways to distinguish yourself that don't rely on direct competition in areas where you're clearly outmatched. Your approach shifts from trying to exceed their capabilities to finding unique strengths that might appeal to different preferences or values. The process is humbling but educational, forcing you to develop a more realistic understanding of your own abilities and limitations. Small victories become disproportionately important in the context of romantic competition. You're not the worst at anything, which is almost the same as being good at something, a logic that provides comfort even as it highlights the modest nature of your achievements. Your ability to find and follow scent trails proves useful in tracking the object of your affection, though the line between romantic interest and stalking is thinner than you'd prefer to acknowledge. Your tracking skills, developed through months of hunting practice, find new application in the romantic context as you learn to interpret the subtle signs of interest, disinterest, and availability that characterize courtship behavior. The ability to read scent trails and territorial markings becomes a way of gathering information about your romantic target's movements, preferences, and availability without the need for direct confrontation with superior rivals. The development of patience, which proved valuable in hunting contexts, becomes essential in romantic pursuits, where timing and persistence are often more important than immediate success. Your ability to maintain focus over extended periods allows you to observe and learn from the courtship behaviors of more successful rivals, gradually developing your own understanding of effective romantic strategies. Rejection, when it inevitably arrives, is handled with grace, if grace means slinking away and pretending the entire interaction never happened. The experience is both humiliating and educational, providing valuable information about your current limitations while highlighting the areas that require improvement. The rejection is not unexpected, given your track record and the quality of the competition, but it still stings with the particular intensity that accompanies romantic failure. The aftermath of rejection requires significant emotional processing and strategic recalibration. Your initial response involves a combination of wounded pride, self-recrimination, and the kind of brooding that accomplishes nothing while providing the illusion of deep thought. The challenge is to extract useful lessons from the experience without allowing the failure to undermine your confidence or derail your continued development. Your analysis of the rejection reveals both personal shortcomings and areas for potential improvement. The failure was not entirely due to your own inadequacy, but also reflected the competitive nature of the courtship environment and the particular preferences of your chosen target. The experience provides valuable information about the realities of romantic competition and the skills that successful courtship requires. The wisdom that develops from romantic failure includes the crucial understanding that sometimes the best strategy is knowing when to quit. The persistence that serves you well in hunting contexts can become counterproductive in romantic situations, where continued pursuit after clear rejection suggests either stupidity or dangerous obsession. Learning to recognize and respect rejection is as important as learning to pursue romantic opportunities. Your reflection on the courting experience reveals both personal growth and areas for continued development. The romantic failure, while painful, provides valuable information about your current capabilities and the skills that future romantic success will require. The experience joins your growing collection of failures and partial successes that are gradually building the foundation for eventual competence in all areas of adult wolf behavior. The seasonal context of your romantic failure adds another dimension to the experience. Spring's awakening of romantic interest creates a natural context for courtship attempts, but it also ensures that you're not alone in your romantic struggles. The observation of other wolves' courtship efforts, both successful and unsuccessful, provides additional information about effective strategies and common pitfalls. Your understanding of courtship behavior undergoes significant revision following your romantic failure. What you'd previously seen as simple attraction and pursuit reveals itself to be a complex interaction of timing, compatibility, competition, and social skills. The successful courtship behaviors you observe require not just individual attractiveness, but also social intelligence, emotional maturity, and strategic thinking. The impact of romantic failure on your relationship with the pack is subtle but significant. Your unsuccessful courtship attempt, while embarrassing, demonstrates your transition toward adult interests and behaviors. The other wolves' awareness of your romantic activities, even if they don't comment directly, contributes to their evolving perception of your maturity and your readiness for adult responsibilities. Your recovery from romantic rejection involves both emotional healing and strategic planning for future romantic opportunities. The experience provides a foundation of knowledge about courtship behavior that will be valuable in future attempts, while the emotional resilience developed through surviving rejection will serve you well in the inevitable challenges that lie ahead. Specialization emerges as the key to finding your place within the pack's complex social and functional structure. You're becoming the wolf who notices things others miss, a role that develops naturally from your combination of patience, observational skills, and the kind of cautious pessimism that makes you alert to potential problems before they become critical. This specialization provides value to the pack while playing to your strengths, rather than trying to compete in areas where you're clearly outmatched by more naturally gifted pack members. Your ability to notice subtle environmental changes, track unusual scent patterns, and detect the kind of small anomalies that often precede larger problems makes you increasingly valuable to the pack's security and hunting success. This skill develops gradually, building on the foundation of your earlier failures and the hard-won experience of learning to read the landscape with the kind of detailed attention that comes from having been frequently surprised by environmental realities. The respect you earn through your specialized contributions is small but significant, consisting of acknowledgements that you're no longer completely useless, combined with occasional requests for your input on tracking and scouting matters. The recognition is modest but meaningful, representing a fundamental shift in your relationship with the pack from burden to contributor. The other wolves begin to seek your opinion on matters related to your area of expertise, a development that feels like a major victory after months of being consistently wrong about everything. Your growing reputation as a skilled tracker and observer creates opportunities for increased responsibility and greater involvement in pack decision-making. The adults begin to include you in planning discussions, seeking your input on territorial matters and hunting strategies. The inclusion is limited and conditional, but it represents real progress toward full adult membership in the pack's leadership structure. Leadership moments arrive as brief instances where others actually listen to your suggestions, a development that feels miraculous after your long history of being politely ignored. These moments are rare and often involve situations where your specialized knowledge provides unique insights that others lack. The experience of having your advice sought and followed provides confidence and validation that encourages continued development of your leadership capabilities. Your first successful leadership experience involves guiding a small hunting party to a location where you've detected signs of promising prey activity. The responsibility is limited but real, requiring you to make decisions that affect the hunting success of the group. The successful outcome provides proof that your observational skills and environmental knowledge have practical value beyond personal satisfaction. The psychological impact of successful leadership extends beyond the immediate satisfaction of achievement to include fundamental changes in your self-perception and confidence. The experience of being trusted with responsibility and succeeding in that trust provides a foundation for future leadership opportunities and contributes to your growing sense of competence and worth within the pack structure. Hunting success begins to accumulate as you find ways to contribute to takedowns that capitalize on your strengths while compensating for your limitations. You're part of the action now rather than just cleanup crew, a promotion that feels significant after months of being relegated to secondary roles. Your contributions are often modest but consistently valuable, focusing on the kinds of detailed observation and strategic positioning that don't require the raw physical ability that characterizes the pack's primary hunters. Your hunting role typically involves tracking prey, identifying optimal approach routes, and maintaining pressure during extended pursuits. These responsibilities require the kinds of skills you've developed through necessity and practice, allowing you to contribute meaningfully to the pack's hunting success, without trying to compete directly with wolves who possess superior physical abilities. The collaborative nature of your hunting contributions requires developing new social skills and learning to work effectively as part of a coordinated team. Your ability to anticipate the needs of other hunters and position yourself to support their efforts becomes as important as your individual capabilities. The teamwork required for successful pack hunting provides valuable experience in cooperation and mutual support that extends beyond hunting into other areas of pack life. Your understanding of pack hunting strategies deepens as you gain experience in various roles and observe the complex interactions that characterize successful group predation. The coordination required for effective pack hunting involves not just individual skills, but also communication, timing, and the ability to adapt to changing circumstances during the pursuit. Your growing expertise in these areas enhances your value to the pack while providing personal satisfaction and confidence. The seasonal transition brings summer's comfortable rhythms and abundant resources, creating an environment that supports growth and development rather than demanding mere survival. Summer settles like an old friend who knows where you keep the comfortable silences, providing the kind of stable, predictable environment that allows for specialization and skill development without the constant pressure of immediate survival needs. Your relationship with the territory becomes more sophisticated as you develop detailed knowledge of the landscape's resources, dangers, and seasonal patterns. The familiarity you've gained through months of exploration and observation allows you to navigate the territory with confidence and provide valuable information to other pack members about optimal hunting locations, potential hazards, and territorial boundaries. The pack's social dynamics continue to evolve as your improved competence and increased contributions earn you greater respect and inclusion in pack activities. Your position within the hierarchy improves gradually but consistently, based on demonstrated value rather than dominance or politics. The progress is satisfying precisely because it's earned through competence rather than achieved through conflict or manipulation. Your reflection on your evolving role within the pack reveals both personal growth and areas for continued development. The specialization that has provided your path to pack membership represents real progress, but it also highlights the ongoing challenges of developing the full range of skills that adult pack membership requires. The journey toward full competence continues, but the direction is clear and the progress is unmistakable. Your growing confidence in your specialized role creates opportunities for further development and increased responsibility within the pack structure. The foundation of competence you've established through your tracking and observational skills provides a platform for expanding into other areas of pack life, while maintaining the strengths that have earned you recognition and the symbolic respect. The integration of your specialized skills into the pack's broader activities becomes increasingly seamless as you develop the ability to apply your observational talents to a wider range of situations. Your tracking abilities prove valuable not just for hunting but also for territorial defense, resource location, and general pack security, making you a more versatile and valuable pack member. Real responsibility arrives in the form of leading hunts and making decisions that matter, a development that feels both natural and terrifying. Your first opportunity to lead a hunting expedition comes when the pack's senior hunters are occupied with territorial disputes, leaving you to organize and direct a small group in pursuit of prey you've been tracking for several days. The weight of responsibility is immediate and intense, as your decisions will directly impact the pack's nutritional welfare and the safety of the wolves under your leadership. The preparation for your first leadership role involves careful planning and strategic thinking that draws on months of observation and experience. You must assess the capabilities of your hunting party, evaluate the terrain and weather conditions, and develop a tactical approach that maximizes the chances of success while minimizing risks to the participants. The complexity of the task highlights how much you've learned about pack dynamics and hunting strategy through your gradual development. Your leadership style emerges as a combination of careful observation, inclusive decision-making, and strategic caution that reflects your personality and experiences. Rather than trying to impose your will through dominance or aggression, you lead through expertise and careful planning, building consensus and ensuring that each pack member understands their role in the overall strategy. The approach proves effective and sustainable, earning respect from your followers while achieving practical results. The psychological challenges of leadership include managing your own anxiety and uncertainty while projecting confidence and competence to your followers. The responsibility for other wolves' safety and success creates pressure that is both motivating and intimidating, requiring you to develop new levels of mental discipline and emotional control. The experience of leadership transforms your understanding of pack dynamics and your own capabilities in fundamental ways. Your first major leadership success involves a complex hunt that requires coordinated effort from multiple pack members operating in difficult terrain. The successful outcome results from careful planning, effective communication, and the ability to adapt the strategy as circumstances change during the pursuit. The experience provides validation of your leadership abilities, while highlighting the skills that continued development will require. Territorial confidence develops as you gain detailed knowledge of the pack's boundaries and the resources within them. You know these territories like your own breathing, understanding not just the physical landscape but also the patterns of prey movement, the locations of water sources, and the seasonal changes that affect resource availability. This intimate knowledge of the territory provides a foundation for strategic decision-making and effective leadership. Your understanding of territorial dynamics extends beyond simple boundary maintenance to include the complex interactions between different packs, the seasonal pressures that affect territorial claims, and the resource management strategies that ensure long-term sustainability. The knowledge you've gained through months of observation and experience makes you a valuable advisor on territorial matters and increases your influence within the pack's decision-making processes. The development of territorial expertise creates opportunities for increased responsibility in boundary patrol and territorial defense. Your ability to detect intrusions, assess threats, and coordinate responses makes you an increasingly important member of the pack's security apparatus. The role requires both individual competence and leadership skills, as you must often direct other pack members in territorial defense activities. Teaching moments arrive as the new pups begin to look at you like you might actually know something, a development that feels both flattering and terrifying. Your role as mentor and instructor requires you to articulate knowledge and skills that you've gained through experience, breaking down complex behaviors into teachable components that inexperienced wolves can understand and practice. The teaching process deepens your own understanding while contributing to the pack's long-term success. Your teaching style reflects your own learning experiences, emphasizing patience, observation, and the importance of learning from failure. Rather than expecting immediate success, you help the young wolves understand that competence develops gradually through practice and experience. The approach proves effective and creates positive relationships with the pack's younger members. The responsibility of teaching, hunting, and tracking skills to inexperienced pack members requires you to develop new communication abilities and pedagogical strategies. You must learn to demonstrate techniques clearly, provide constructive feedback, and create learning opportunities that challenge students without overwhelming them. The teaching experience enhances your own leadership capabilities while contributing to the pack's overall competence. Your relationship with the pack's youngest members becomes increasingly important as you establish yourself as a reliable source of guidance and support. The young wolves' respect for your knowledge and their willingness to seek your advice represents a significant shift in your status within the pack hierarchy. The mentoring relationship provides personal satisfaction while contributing to the pack's long-term stability and success. Romantic success finally arrives as you begin to understand the difference between wanting and being wanted, a distinction that proves crucial for effective courtship behavior. Your improved confidence, demonstrated competence, and growing maturity make you a more attractive potential mate, while your hard-won understanding of social dynamics helps you navigate the complex process of courtship more effectively. Your romantic success is built on a foundation of genuine compatibility and mutual respect, rather than desperate pursuit or artificial impression management. The relationship develops naturally from friendship and shared experiences, creating a stable foundation for long-term partnership. The experience of successful courtship provides personal fulfillment while contributing to your overall sense of competence and maturity. The development of a serious romantic relationship requires new skills in communication, compromise, and mutual support that extend beyond the tactical cooperation of hunting and territorial defense. You must learn to balance individual needs with partnership requirements, navigate disagreements constructively, and maintain the relationship through the various challenges that pack life presents. Your romantic partner's influence on your continued development is significant and positive, providing both support for your strengths and gentle correction for your persistent weaknesses. The relationship creates opportunities for personal growth while contributing to your overall stability and happiness. The partnership enhances your effectiveness as a pack member while providing personal satisfaction that extends beyond professional competence. Pack dynamics shift subtly but significantly as your improved status and romantic success change your position within the social hierarchy. You're no longer at the bottom of any hierarchy that matters, a development that feels momentous after your long history of subordination and marginalization. The change in status reflects genuine growth and achievement, rather than arbitrary promotion or political maneuvering. Your new position within the pack hierarchy brings both privileges and responsibilities that require continued development and careful management. The respect you've earned must be maintained through consistent performance and continued contribution to pack welfare. The responsibility of higher status includes modeling appropriate behavior for younger pack members and supporting the pack's overall goals and values. The integration of your various role shunter, tracker, teacher, leader, and mate creates a complex but satisfying identity that reflects your maturation from fumbling puphood to functional adult pack membership. The different roles complement and reinforce each other, creating a stable foundation for continued growth and development. The complexity of your adult identity provides richness and depth to your life within the pack. Routine establishment marks the transition from constant learning and adaptation to the comfortable rhythms of competent adult life. Your days have rhythm now, like a song you know by heart, with predictable patterns that provide stability and efficiency while still allowing for the flexibility that pack life requires. The morning patrol routes, the midday rest periods, the evening hunting expeditions, and the nighttime territorial monitoring create a framework that supports both individual well-being and pack cohesion. The development of personal routines reflects your growing understanding of your own needs and capabilities, as well as your established role within the pack's broader activities. You've learned to balance the demands of pack responsibility with the requirements of personal maintenance, creating sustainable patterns that allow you to contribute consistently without burning out or compromising your own well-being. Your daily routine now includes specialized activities that capitalize on your particular strengths and interests. The early morning tracking sessions, the detailed territorial surveys, the teaching periods with younger pack members, and the strategic planning discussions with pack leadership create a varied but structured approach to daily life that provides both challenge and satisfaction. The seasonal variations in your routine reflect your sophisticated understanding of environmental patterns and their impact on pack activities. Summer routines emphasize territorial maintenance and skill development, while winter routines focus on survival and resource conservation. The ability to adapt your personal patterns to seasonal requirements demonstrates the kind of environmental awareness that characterizes successful pack members. Mastery moments arrive as hunting becomes less about luck disguised as skill and more about the consistent application of proven techniques and strategies. Your hunting success rate has improved dramatically through the combination of enhanced physical capabilities, refined techniques, and strategic thinking. The transformation from occasional lucky success to reliable competence represents a fundamental shift in your relationship with predatory behavior. Your hunting mastery is demonstrated not just through individual success, but through your ability to contribute consistently to pack hunting efforts. The coordination with other hunters, the strategic positioning, and the tactical decision-making that characterize your hunting participation reflect years of development and hard-won experience. The mastery feels natural and sustainable, providing confidence for future challenges. The technical aspects of your hunting skill include sophisticated understanding of prey behavior, environmental factors that affect hunting success, and the complex social dynamics that govern pack hunting. Your ability to read tracks, interpret scent trails, and predict prey movements has reached a level of expertise that makes you a valuable resource for the entire pack's hunting activities. Your teaching of hunting skills to younger pack members demonstrates the depth of your mastery and your ability to articulate complex knowledge in accessible ways. The success of your students provides validation of your own competence while contributing to the pack's long-term hunting capabilities. The teaching process continues to enhance your own understanding while serving the pack's broader needs. Relationship development with your mate deepens as you move beyond the initial excitement of courtship to the more complex satisfactions of long-term partnership. Finding a mate who appreciates your particular brand of competent awkwardness creates a relationship foundation that is both stable and dynamic, providing support for continued growth while accepting your persistent quirks and limitations. Your romantic relationship has evolved into a true partnership that enhances both individual capabilities and mutual satisfaction. The combination of shared activities, complementary skills, and genuine affection creates a relationship that supports your other roles while providing personal fulfillment. The partnership contributes to your overall stability and happiness while strengthening your position within the pack. The practical aspects of your romantic partnership include coordinated hunting efforts, shared territorial responsibilities, and mutual support during challenging periods. The ability to work together effectively while maintaining individual identities creates a relationship model that other pack members respect and occasionally emulate. The partnership demonstrates that successful relationships require both compatibility and continuous effort. Your relationship's contribution to pack welfare extends beyond the immediate benefits of partnership to include the stability and positive example that successful relationships provide to the pack community. The harmony and mutual support that characterize your partnership contribute to overall pack morale, while providing a model for younger pack members who are developing their own relationship skills. The scenic reflection that autumn brings allows you to observe the changing season like an old friend keeping appointments, a perspective that demonstrates your deep integration with the natural rhythms that govern pack life. The familiar patterns of seasonal change no longer feel overwhelming or unpredictable, but instead provide a comforting framework for planning and adaptation. Your relationship with the seasonal cycle has evolved from confused bewilderment to sophisticated understanding and appreciation. The autumn colors, the changing weather patterns, and the shifting animal behaviors create a familiar symphony that speaks to your deep connection with the natural world. The seasonal awareness enhances your effectiveness as a pack member while providing personal satisfaction and aesthetic pleasure. The autumn reflection includes assessment of your growth and development over the past year, highlighting both achievements and areas for continued improvement. The transformation from fumbling adolescent to competent adult pack member represents genuine progress, but it also reveals the ongoing nature of personal development and the challenges that lie ahead. Your contemplation of seasonal change includes awareness of the cyclical nature of pack life and your own continued development. The autumn that returns is the same season but experienced by a fundamentally different wolf, one who has gained the skills and confidence necessary for successful pack membership. The continuity and change reflected in seasonal patterns mirror your own journey of growth and adaptation. The transition set up for future development involves recognition that you're becoming the wolf you're going to be, and it's surprisingly comfortable. The identity that has emerged through months of struggle and growth feels natural and sustainable, providing a foundation for continued development without the constant crisis management that characterized your earlier development. Your emerging identity as a competent adult pack member includes all the various roles and relationships that define your place within the pack community. The integration of hunter, tracker, teacher, leader, and mate creates a complex but coherent sense of self that provides stability and direction for future growth. The identity feels earned rather than assigned, reflecting genuine achievement and sustained effort. The comfort you feel with your emerging identity reflects both personal satisfaction and realistic assessment of your capabilities and limitations. The self-awareness that has developed through years of experience allows you to understand your strengths and weaknesses while maintaining confidence in your ability to continue growing and adapting. The comfort is not complacency, but rather the satisfaction of finding your place in the world. The anticipation of future challenges and opportunities creates excitement rather than anxiety, reflecting your confidence in your ability to adapt and grow. The foundation of competence you've established provides security for facing unknown challenges, while the relationships and skills you've developed create resources for continued success. The future feels manageable and full of potential rather than threatening and overwhelming. Your reflection on the journey from incompetent puphood to functional adult pack membership reveals both pride in your achievements and realistic assessment of the continued work that adult life requires. The transformation has been gradual but profound, creating a wolf who is fundamentally different from the fumbling creature who first stumbled out of the den. The journey continues, but the direction is clear and the progress is undeniable. Finding the perfect spot requires balancing ambition with practicality, not too expansive to defend, not too modest to sustain a family. Your chosen territory offers water access, diverse hunting grounds, and defensible boundaries. Boundary negotiations with neighbors involve polite but firm discussions, testing limits through strategic scent marking and calculated displays of presence. Den selection becomes an exercise in practical architecture, considering drainage, concealment, and expansion potential. The sophisticated art of strategic scent placement proves more complex than anticipated, requiring careful consideration of wind patterns and territorial messaging. Seasonal adjustments reveal that territories are living systems requiring constant maintenance and adaptation. Courtship redux arrives with actual skills and hard-won confidence, transforming romantic pursuit from desperate fumbling into purposeful partnership building. Your chosen mate appreciates your quirks as features rather than bugs, creating a relationship foundation built on genuine compatibility and mutual respect. Establishing shared routines becomes a comfortable dance of two predators, learning to share space without sacrificing individual identity. Complementary skills enhance both partners. Your tracking expertise pairs perfectly with her hunting prowess, creating tactical advantages that benefit both individual success and partnership satisfaction. Spring arrives like a party you're actually invited to, and domestic bliss proves surprisingly enjoyable, even for someone previously suspicious of contentment. Puppies arrive like tiny, uncoordinated reminders of your own fumbling beginnings, and suddenly you're watching small creatures stumble through the same basics that once defeated you completely. Patience develops rapidly as you gain deep understanding of your mother's particular expression during your own chaotic puppyhood. Teaching moments become opportunities to pass on skills you remember learning badly, though your improved competence makes instruction more effective than your own early experiences suggested possible. Protection instincts surprise you with their intensity, revealing capacity for genuine fierceness when family welfare demands it. History repeats itself with humorous precision, but this time you know the script and can anticipate the plot developments that once bewildered you completely. Hunting mastery reaches levels where other wolves observe your timing and technique for instructional purposes, a development that feels miraculous considering your historical incompetence. Leadership acceptance becomes standard practice, as pack decisions routinely include your input, reflecting earned respect rather than courtesy or obligation. Territorial confidence manifests in boundaries that are respected because you respect them yourself, creating stable relationships with neighboring packs based on mutual understanding rather than constant testing. Family management requires balancing partnership demands, parenting responsibilities, and pack obligations, a complex juggling act that somehow feels natural rather than overwhelming. You pause occasionally, letting wind blow dramatically through your whiskers, not for theatrical effect, but because you've earned these moments of peaceful reflection on achieved competence. Energy changes arrive with the subtle persistence of seasonal transitions, not as dramatic decline, but as refined selectivity about when and how you demonstrate your capabilities. You're still formidable when the situation demands it, but you've developed the wisdom to distinguish between situations that require immediate action and those that can be resolved through patience, delegation, or strategic inaction. The transformation from reactive enthusiasm to selective engagement represents a fundamental shift in your approach to pack life and territorial management. The conservation of energy becomes an art form rather than a necessity imposed by physical limitation. Your body remains capable of the explosive bursts of speed and power that hunting and territorial defense require, but your mind has learned to evaluate whether such expenditure is truly necessary or merely habitual. The young wolves, still charging at every challenge with maximum effort, provide entertaining reminders of your own earlier approach to problem solving. Wisdom over speed emerges as your preferred strategy in most situations, a development that surprises you with its effectiveness. Where you once relied on physical ability and determined persistence to overcome obstacles, you now find that careful observation, strategic thinking, and patient timing often produce superior results with significantly less effort. The revelation that strategy beats enthusiasm more often than you expected feels like discovering a secret that should have been obvious all along. Your approach to hunting evolves to emphasize planning and positioning over raw pursuit capability. The careful study of prey patterns, the strategic use of terrain advantages, and the coordinated deployment of pack resources become more important than individual speed or stamina. The young hunters who focus solely on physical prowess often return empty-pawed, while your methodical approach consistently produces results. The mentoring role develops naturally as young wolves begin asking your opinion on matters ranging from hunting strategy to territorial disputes. The requests for advice feel strange initially, as you remember being the wolf whose opinions were politely ignored, but you discover that you have accumulated knowledge worth sharing. Your responses become more thoughtful and less defensive, reflecting both increased confidence and genuine concern for the younger wolf's development. Your teaching style emphasizes practical demonstration over theoretical explanation, remembering your own frustration with abstract advice that couldn't be applied to real situations. The young wolves respond well to concrete examples and hands-on learning opportunities, validating your approach while providing personal satisfaction from successful knowledge transfer. The mentoring relationship benefits both parties, enhancing your sense of purpose while contributing to pack welfare. Seasonal awareness reaches levels of sophistication that allow you to notice patterns and predict changes that escape less experienced pack members. Your accumulated knowledge of weather patterns, prey behavior, and territorial dynamics creates a comprehensive understanding of environmental systems that proves valuable for pack planning and resource management. The ability to anticipate challenges and opportunities before they become obvious provides significant advantages for pack welfare. The predictive capability that comes with extensive seasonal experience allows you to prepare the pack for changes before they arrive. Your warnings about harsh weather, predictions about prey migration patterns, and assessments of territorial pressure from neighboring packs help the pack adapt proactively rather than reactively. The younger wolves initially question your predictions but gradually learn to trust your environmental expertise. Comfort with authority develops as leadership feels less like performance and more like breathing, a natural expression of your accumulated experience and demonstrated competence. The anxiety and uncertainty that once characterized your leadership attempts disappear, replaced by calm confidence and strategic thinking. Your authority is no longer questioned or tested but accepted as a natural result of your proven capabilities and consistent judgment. The evolution of your leadership style toward collaborative decision-making reflects both increased confidence and deeper understanding of pack dynamics. Rather than trying to impose your will through dominance, you guide discussions toward optimal solutions while ensuring that all relevant perspectives are considered. The approach proves effective and sustainable, earning respect while maintaining pack cohesion. Your humor undergoes significant evolution as your jokes become drier, your patience grows thinner, and your accuracy improves dramatically. The gentle self-deprecation that characterized your earlier interactions sharpens into more pointed observations about pack life and wolf behavior. Your comments carry more weight because they're based on extensive experience and proven judgment, making even casual observations valuable to other pack members. The development of wit as a communication tool allows you to make important points without direct confrontation, providing gentle correction and guidance through humor rather than criticism. The approach proves effective for managing pack dynamics while maintaining relationships, demonstrating that wisdom can be transmitted through entertainment as well as instruction. Your reputation for insightful humor enhances your influence while making interactions more enjoyable for everyone involved. Your relationship with younger pack members evolves from simple hierarchy to complex mentorship that benefits both parties. The young wolves provide energy and fresh perspectives that keep you engaged with pack life, while you offer experience and wisdom that helps them avoid costly mistakes. The intergenerational exchange creates stability and continuity within the pack, while ensuring that valuable knowledge is preserved and transmitted. The satisfaction that comes from successful mentoring extends beyond immediate, practical benefits to include the deeper fulfillment of contributing to pack continuity and welfare. Your influence on the next generation of pack members represents a form of legacy that transcends individual achievement, ensuring that your accumulated knowledge and experience continue to benefit the pack long after your active participation diminishes. Territory transitions begin subtly as you gradually share prime hunting spots and strategic locations with the next generation, a process that feels both natural and slightly melancholy. The territories you've defended and developed over years of careful management slowly become training grounds for younger wolves who will eventually assume full responsibility for their maintenance and protection. The handover process requires careful balance between maintaining necessary control and providing meaningful learning opportunities. Your approach to territorial transition emphasizes gradual responsibility transfer rather than abrupt handover, allowing young wolves to develop competence while ensuring that territorial security is maintained. The process involves joint patrols, shared decision-making, and careful observation of the younger wolves developing judgment and capabilities. The method proves effective for both knowledge transfer and continuity of territorial management. The emotional aspects of territorial transition prove more complex than anticipated, as you discover genuine attachment to specific locations and boundaries that you've maintained for years. The intimate knowledge of every trail, water source, and strategic position creates a personal connection to the landscape that makes sharing feel like a form of loss. However, the satisfaction of seeing younger wolves develop similar expertise and attachment provides compensation for the emotional cost. Teaching without lecturing becomes an art form as you remember your own resistance to lengthy explanations and theoretical discussions during your development. Your approach emphasizes demonstration over explanation, allowing younger wolves to observe effective techniques and strategies in action rather than trying to absorb abstract principles. The method proves more effective than traditional instruction while avoiding the frustration that characterized your own early learning experiences. Your teaching philosophy focuses on creating learning opportunities rather than providing answers, understanding that skills developed through personal experience prove more durable and effective than those acquired through passive instruction. The young wolves respond well to guided discovery and hands-on problem-solving, developing confidence and competence more rapidly than traditional teaching methods typically produce. The patience required for effective teaching draws on your hard-won understanding of the learning process and the inevitable mistakes that accompany skill development. Your tolerance for repeated errors and gradual progress reflects both personal growth and practical recognition that rushing the learning process typically produces inferior results. The investment in patient instruction pays dividends in the form of more capable and confident younger pack members. Grandparent duties arrive with the birth of your offspring's puppies, providing the entertaining and educational experience of watching your own children navigate the challenges of raising confused, stumbling young wolves. The perspective of observing parenting from one generation removed offers insights into family dynamics and child development that direct parenting experience couldn't provide. The role combines responsibility with detachment in ways that prove both enjoyable and instructive. Your relationship with your grandchildren develops differently from your parenting experience, characterized by indulgence and patience that your own puppies didn't always receive. The reduced pressure of primary responsibility allows you to focus on enjoyment and relationship building rather than discipline and instruction. The grandparenting role provides satisfaction and purpose, while contributing to family cohesion and stability. The observation of your offspring's parenting techniques provides opportunities for subtle guidance and support without direct interference in their family management. Your experience and perspective prove valuable for problem-solving and decision-making while respecting the autonomy and authority of the younger generation. The balance between helpfulness and independence requires careful navigation but ultimately strengthens family relationships. Pack evolution becomes apparent as you observe changes in pack structure, leadership dynamics, and operational procedures that reflect the natural adaptation of the group to changing circumstances and membership. Your understanding that change is normal, even when inconvenient, allows you to accept and support pack evolution rather than resisting modifications to familiar patterns. The perspective provides stability during transitions while facilitating necessary adaptations. Your role in pack evolution shifts from active participant to wise counselor, providing historical perspective and institutional memory that help the pack make informed decisions about change. The knowledge of what has worked in the past, what has failed, and what circumstances prompted previous changes proves valuable for contemporary decision-making. Your contribution becomes advisory rather than directive, supporting pack leadership while respecting current authority. The seasonal reflection that autumn brings feels like a comfortable conversation with an old friend, familiar and satisfying without requiring constant attention or active engagement. The cyclical nature of seasonal change provides reassurance and continuity that balances the ongoing changes in pack life and personal circumstances. The autumn landscape offers opportunities for contemplation and assessment that contribute to emotional well-being and perspective maintenance. Your relationship with seasonal patterns has evolved from active engagement to appreciative observation, finding satisfaction in recognizing familiar cycles and changes without feeling compelled to respond with immediate action. The deeper understanding of natural rhythms that comes with extensive experience allows you to anticipate and prepare for seasonal challenges while enjoying the aesthetic and emotional pleasures that each season provides. Acceptance moments arrive as you recognize that you're no longer the future of the pack and discover that this realization brings relief rather than regret. The transition from central actor to supporting character feels natural and appropriate, reflecting the normal progression of pack life and individual development. The acceptance of reduced centrality allows you to focus on contributions that match your current capabilities and interests rather than trying to maintain roles that no longer fit. The peace that comes with accepting your evolving role within the pack extends beyond simple resignation to include genuine satisfaction with your contributions and achievements. The recognition that you've fulfilled your responsibilities to pack welfare and continuity provides a sense of completion that makes the transition to emeritus status feel like achievement rather than decline. The acceptance creates space for new forms of contribution and engagement that match your current circumstances and preferences. Routine refinement transforms your daily activities into precisely crafted expressions of accumulated wisdom and personal preference, with each element serving specific purposes rather than simply filling time. Your days become shorter but more intentional, focusing on activities that provide genuine value or satisfaction while eliminating obligations that no longer serve useful purposes. The process of distillation creates a lifestyle that maximizes meaningful engagement while minimizing wasted effort and unnecessary stress. The development of refined routines reflects both practical considerations and aesthetic preferences, creating patterns that accommodate your changing capabilities while maintaining connections to the activities and relationships that define your identity. The morning territorial surveys become more observational than investigative, the midday rest periods extend longer, and the evening social interactions focus more on listening than participating. The adjustments feel natural rather than imposed, reflecting organic adaptation to changing circumstances. Your relationship with time undergoes fundamental changes as urgency gives way to patience and efficiency replaces intensity. The frantic pace that characterized your earlier development and peak performance years settles into a more measured rhythm that allows for deeper engagement with fewer activities. The shift provides opportunities for reflection and appreciation that were impossible during periods of high demand and constant activity. Selective engagement becomes a refined art form as you develop increasingly sophisticated criteria for choosing battles worth fighting, while confidently ignoring conflicts that don't merit your attention or energy. The wisdom to distinguish between important principles and trivial disagreements allows you to maintain influence and respect while avoiding unnecessary stress and conflict. The selectivity extends to all areas of life, from territorial disputes to pack politics to family matters. Your approach to conflict resolution emphasizes de-escalation and strategic patience rather than immediate confrontation, recognizing that many disputes resolve themselves without intervention if given sufficient time and space. The young wolf's tendency to escalate every disagreement into a crisis provides amusing contrast to your more measured approach, though your occasional interventions in truly serious matters carry significant weight precisely because of their rarity. The development of strategic disengagement as a tool for conflict management allows you to maintain relationships and influence while avoiding the exhaustion and stress that come from constant involvement in pack politics and interpersonal disputes. The ability to step back from situations that don't require your participation provides both personal relief and often better outcomes than direct intervention would achieve. Observation mode becomes your preferred stance for most pack activities, allowing you to watch pack dynamics with the detachment of experience rather than the anxiety of responsibility. The perspective provides insights into pack behavior and relationship patterns that active participation often obscures, while the reduced emotional investment allows for more objective assessment of situations and outcomes. The observational role proves both relaxing and informative. Your capacity for objective observation extends to assessment of your own behavior and decision-making, providing opportunities for continued learning and self-improvement even as your active participation in pack life diminishes. The ability to analyze your own patterns and preferences without defensive reactions allows for continued personal growth and adaptation to changing circumstances. The entertainment value of observing younger wolves repeat the same mistakes and experience the same discoveries that characterized your own development provides both amusement and perspective on the continuity of pack life. The recognition that confusion, failure, and gradual competence represent normal development rather than personal inadequacy offers reassurance about your own journey while providing patience for others' learning processes. Seasonal rhythms lose their power to surprise, as winter arrives with familiar patterns and predictable challenges that you've navigated successfully for years. Your preparation for seasonal changes becomes automatic and efficient, based on extensive experience rather than anxious planning. The confidence that comes with proven ability to handle seasonal challenges provides peace of mind that allows you to focus on enjoyment rather than survival during harsh weather. Your relationship with winter evolves from endurance trial to comfortable routine, as you've developed strategies and resources that make the harsh season manageable rather than threatening. The accumulated knowledge of shelter locations, food storage techniques, and weather prediction allows you to approach winter with confidence rather than apprehension. The transformation represents a fundamental shift from reactive survival to proactive management. The appreciation for winter's unique qualities, the stark beauty of snow-covered landscapes, the quiet intensity of survival-focused days, the intimate warmth of shared shelters develops as survival concerns diminish and aesthetic awareness increases. The season that once threatened your existence now provides opportunities for reflection and appreciation that contribute to overall life satisfaction. Quiet satisfaction pervades your daily existence as you recognize that you've survived everything you needed to survive, from puppyhood incompetence through adolescent awkwardness to adult responsibility and beyond. The accumulation of successful adaptations to challenges, threats, and changes creates a foundation of confidence that makes current difficulties feel manageable rather than overwhelming. The satisfaction comes not from dramatic achievements, but from consistent competence and gradual improvement over time. The recognition of your survival success extends beyond mere physical endurance to include emotional resilience, relationship maintenance, and contribution to pack welfare throughout your life. The various challenges that once seemed insurmountable, learning to hunt, establishing territory, finding a mate, raising offspring, assuming leadership responsibilities now appear as normal life experiences that you handled with adequate competence. The perspective provides both pride and peace. Legacy awareness develops as you recognize that the pack continues and will continue long after your participation ends, and that your contribution to that continuity is complete and successful. The young wolves you've mentored, the territories you've established and maintained, the offspring you've raised, and the pack traditions you've supported ensure that your influence extends beyond your individual existence. The legacy awareness provides meaning and satisfaction that transcends personal achievement. The final territory walk unfolds as a slow, deliberate tour of boundaries you've maintained for years, each landmark carrying memories of conflicts resolved, challenges overcome, and gradual improvements implemented through patient effort. The familiar scent markers tell stories spanning decades territorial disputes that began with posturing and ended with respectful accommodation. Hunting trails that evolved from desperate chases to strategic ambush routes, resting spots that transformed from temporary shelters to comfortable sanctuaries through accumulated knowledge and environmental modification. Your pace during this final survey reflects both physical changes and emotional preference for thorough observation over efficient coverage. The joints that once moved with fluid grace now require more careful attention, but the movement remains purposeful rather than labored. Each location receives careful attention, not because decision-making is required, but because appreciation feels appropriate after years of shared history. The territory that once demanded constant vigilance and active management now offers opportunities for quiet reflection on the relationship between wolf and landscape that develops through years of mutual adaptation. The strategic observation points you established over the years reveal their accumulated wisdom as you pause at each location, remembering the logic that dictated their placement and the experiences that confirmed their value. The elevated ridge that provides early warning of intrusions, the concealed hollow that offers protected rest during harsh weather, the stream crossing that allows rapid movement between territory sections. Each position represents learned understanding of tactical advantage and environmental opportunity. The boundaries you've defended countless times against intrusions, both serious and trivial, now feel like extensions of your own identity, familiar as your own breathing and intimate as family relationships. The knowledge of every trail junction, every water source, every tactical advantage accumulated through seasons of careful observation creates a connection to place that transcends simple territorial possession. The territory has shaped you as much as you've shaped it, creating a reciprocal relationship that has defined much of your adult existence. The scent markers that define your territorial claims carry the accumulated weight of years of regular maintenance, each post representing not just boundary definition but communication with neighbors, pack members, and the broader wolf community. The sophisticated chemical messages embedded in these markers tell complex stories of territorial stability, pack strength, and individual identity that younger wolves are only beginning to understand. Your final refreshing of these markers feels like signing your name to a completed work. The emotional experience of the final patrol combines satisfaction with acceptance, recognizing both achievement and completion without dramatic emphasis on either. The territory will continue under new management, the boundaries will require constant maintenance, and the challenges will demand fresh energy and perspective. Your role in this continuing story is ending, but the story itself continues with appropriate momentum and direction. The transition feels natural rather than imposed, reflecting the organic progression of pack life and individual responsibility. The hunting trails worn smooth by countless patrols represent perhaps the most intimate connection between your individual effort and the landscape's permanent modification. The paths that began as random routes through difficult terrain have evolved into efficient transportation networks that will serve future generations of pack members. The subtle modifications you've made clearing obstacles, establishing rest points, creating alternate routes transform abstract landscape into functional infrastructure. The last hunt arrives without fanfare or special significance, simply the final iteration of an activity that has defined much of your adult life. The prey is an aging rabbit whose reflexes have slowed enough to make capture possible despite your own reduced speed and somewhat creaky joints. The irony of this final symmetry in aging predator, pursuing aging prey, provides gentle amusement without detracting from the fundamental satisfaction of successful predation. The pursuit lacks the intensity of earlier hunts, but retains the essential elements that have sustained you throughout your predatory career. The approach phase of the hunt demonstrates how accumulated wisdom compensates for reduced physical capability. Rather than relying on explosive speed and endurance, you employ strategic positioning and environmental knowledge to create conditions that favor success. The understanding of prey behavior patterns, the utilization of terrain advantages, and the patient timing that characterizes expert predation combine to produce results that pure physical ability alone could not achieve. The rabbit's escape attempts follow predictable patterns that your experience allows you to anticipate and counter. Where a younger wolf might exhaust itself in futile pursuit, your strategic approach channels the prey's movement toward positions that limit its options and maximize your advantages. The hunt becomes less about overwhelming force and more about applied knowledge, demonstrating the evolution of your predatory technique from enthusiastic chaos to refined expertise. The technical aspects of the hunt showcase the subtle skills that develop through decades of practice and observation. The reading of micro-expressions in prey behavior that indicate direction changes, the understanding of terrain features that create tactical opportunities, and the timing that transforms possibility into success represent the accumulated learning of a lifetime spent in predatory pursuit. The rabbit doesn't quite get away, and that modest success feels perfectly appropriate for the occasion. The conclusion of the hunt provides sustenance for your final days while representing closure on the predatory cycle that has sustained you throughout your adult life. The rabbit's life contributes to your continued existence in the same fundamental exchange that has characterized your relationship with prey throughout your hunting career. The circle feels complete without being artificially symbolic, simply the natural conclusion of patterns that have defined your existence. Peaceful solitude becomes your preferred state as you find a comfortable spot where the afternoon sun hits just right, providing warmth without excessive heat and shelter without confinement. The location you choose represents the culmination of years of environmental knowledge and personal preference, offering optimal conditions for extended rest and contemplation. The spot satisfies both practical requirements for comfort and security while providing aesthetic pleasure through its comprehensive view of familiar territory. Your chosen resting place allows for contemplation without demanding it, providing opportunities for reflection while supporting simple appreciation of immediate sensory experiences. The warmth of sunlight filtering through the canopy creates dappled patterns that shift with the movement of leaves, providing gentle entertainment for aging eyes. The subtle movement of air carries familiar scents that connect you to the continuing life of your territory without requiring active response or engagement. The acoustic environment of your final resting place provides a soundtrack of familiar sounds that represent the ongoing life of your territory. The distant howls of pack members conducting their daily business, the rustling of small creatures in the underbrush, and the natural sounds of water, wind, and growing vegetation create an auditory landscape that connects you to the continuing world without overwhelming your reduced capacity for active engagement. The gradual reduction of activity to essential functions feels natural rather than symptomatic, reflecting preference rather than incapacity. The energy conservation that was once strategic now becomes total, with movement limited to necessary adjustments for comfort and awareness, maintained at levels sufficient for basic security. The transition occurs without drama or distress, simply the logical progression of a life well lived approaching its natural conclusion. Reflection without sentimentality characterizes your final contemplations as you assess your life with the same practical honesty that guided your daily decisions throughout your adult years. The inventory of your existence reveals neither spectacular success nor dramatic failure, but rather the steady accumulation of competence, relationship, and contribution that characterizes a life lived authentically within its natural limitations and opportunities. You've lived exactly the life you lived, neither the life you might have imagined in your fumbling youth, nor the life others might have chosen for you, but the one that emerged from the intersection of your capabilities, circumstances, and decisions. The assessment reveals neither triumph nor tragedy, but simply the completed expression of one wolf's existence, unique in its specific details, but representative of the broader patterns that govern all individual lives within the natural order. The absence of regret or excessive pride in your final reflections demonstrates the wisdom that comes with full acceptance of your own nature and limitations. The mistakes you made were learning opportunities that contributed to your eventual competence. The successes you achieved were appropriate expressions of your developed abilities, and the relationships you formed were genuine reflections of your personality and values. The life feels complete because it was lived authentically rather than according to external expectations or impossible ideals. Your understanding of your own mortality carries neither fear nor eagerness, but simple acceptance of natural processes that govern all living things. The approach of death feels neither premature nor overdue, but appropriately timed for a life that has fulfilled its essential purpose: survival, reproduction, contribution to pack welfare, and the transmission of knowledge and territory to the next generation. The acceptance provides peace rather than resignation, representing final wisdom rather than defeat. Spring arrives again with familiar patterns of renewal and growth that you observe like a show you've enjoyed, appreciating the performance without needing to participate actively in its unfolding. The seasonal transition provides appropriate backdrop for your own transition, as new life emerges throughout the territory while your own life approaches its natural end. The timing feels neither coincidental nor symbolic, but simply the convergence of natural cycles that have governed your existence since birth. The spring scents that once triggered urgent territorial and hunting responses now provide gentle entertainment and aesthetic pleasure, connecting you to the continuing cycles of life without demanding participation. The renewed activity of prey animals, the territorial displays of younger wolves establishing their own boundaries, and the general increase in environmental energy create a dynamic backdrop for your increasingly static existence. The contrast between your stillness and the world's movement provides perspective on the natural progression from active participation to peaceful observation. The sounds of new life, the tentative howls of young wolves learning to communicate, the rustle of emerging vegetation, the increased activity of prey animals responding to abundant resources create an audio environment that speaks to continuity and renewal. The knowledge that these patterns will continue long after your individual participation ends provides comfort rather than melancholy, representing the successful completion of your role in the larger cycles that govern natural existence. Dignified fading occurs without drama or fanfare, representing the quiet satisfaction of a job completed rather than the tragedy of potential unfulfilled. Your gradual withdrawal from active participation in pack life has allowed for smooth transitions of responsibility while maintaining the relationships and respect that provide comfort in your final period. The process honors both your contributions and your limitations, without false heroics or unnecessary pathos. The younger wolves' respectful acknowledgement of your approaching end demonstrates the successful establishment of your legacy within the pack community. Their occasional visits provide companionship without intrusion, offering the social connection that remains important even as your capacity for active engagement diminishes. The balance between solitude and company feels perfectly calibrated to your current needs and preferences. The final humor emerges as you recognize that the grass still smells like wet socks and optimism, and you're finally okay with both elements of that aromatic combination. The scent that once symbolized your confused relationship with environmental realities now represents the acceptance and appreciation that characterize your mature perspective on existence. The humor is gentle and self-aware, reflecting the wisdom that comes with complete acceptance of your own nature and the world's persistent refusal to conform to logical expectations. Your contentment with the persistent scent of optimism represents final reconciliation with the hope and possibility that have always existed in your environment, but which you spent years learning to recognize and appreciate. The optimism was never misplaced, it simply required the wisdom and experience to understand its appropriate role in a life well lived. The grass has always smelled like possibility. You just needed decades to develop the olfactory sophistication to appreciate the fragrance. The closing moment arrives as you close your eyes for what might be the last time, or might just be a very good nape either way. You're content with the uncertainty and peaceful about the outcome. The distinction between sleep and death loses significance as both represent rest well earned after a life fully lived. The contentment that accompanies this final ambiguity reflects the complete acceptance and satisfaction that characterize a successful conclusion to a meaningful existence. The last thought that drifts through your consciousness is simple appreciation for the journey from that fumbling creature who flopped into the world like an uninvited party guest to this peaceful wolf who has finally learned that wet socks and optimism make perfectly reasonable companions for a life well lived. Time moves differently now, or perhaps you move differently through time. The boundaries between sleeping and waking have become suggestions rather than absolutes, and consciousness flows like water finding its level rather than switching between distinct states. Your awareness ebbs and flows with the rhythm of seasons you can feel, but no longer need to actively experience, connected to the turning world through bonds that transcend the immediate demands of survival and territory. The pack continues its daily existence around your resting place, their activities creating a familiar soundtrack of purposeful life that requires no response from you. The morning howls that once demanded your participation now serve as gentle reminders of continuing community, while the evening discussions of hunting plans and territorial concerns flow past your consciousness like background music to a performance you've completed. Your role has shifted from participant to witness, from actor to appreciative audience. Your chosen spot has become a landmark of sorts, though not in any dramatic or ceremonial way. Pack members pause occasionally during their patrols, offering silent acknowledgement of your presence without disturbing your rest. The young wolves you mentored bring their own offspring to observe the peaceful figure who taught them to read tracks and weather patterns. The visits are brief and respectful, honoring your transition without treating it as spectacle or tragedy. The seasons continue their ancient dance, and you experience them now as essences rather than challenges to be met and overcome. Winter arrives as a concept of cold and scarcity that touches your consciousness without demanding response, while spring emerges as a feeling of renewal and possibility that requires no action on your part. The intimate knowledge of seasonal patterns that once governed your daily decisions now provides aesthetic appreciation without practical urgency. Your territory maintains itself through the competent management of the younger generation, who have inherited not just boundaries and resources but the accumulated wisdom of careful stewardship. The scent markers you established continue to be refreshed. The hunting trails you developed remain in use, and the strategic positions you identified serve new guardians who understand their value through your teaching. The landscape bears the permanent imprint of your years of patient investment. Dreams and memories blend into experiences that feel equally real and equally distant, creating a rich internal landscape that rivals the external territory in complexity and familiarity. Conversations with long-dead pack members feel as immediate as observations of current activities, while future possibilities shimmer at the edges of consciousness like heat mirages. The chronological sequence that once organized your understanding of experience gives way to a more fluid appreciation of interconnected moments. The rabbit from your final hunt appears occasionally in these fluid states of consciousness, not as prey, but as companion in the space between sleep and waking. The creature seems to harbor no resentment for its role in your last predatory success, accepting the exchange of life that sustained you through your final period with the same practical wisdom that characterized your own understanding of natural cycles. The rabbit speaks sometimes, though whether in dreams or memory or imagination matters less than the content of the conversations. Your mate visits in forms both physical and remembered, her presence providing continuity between your current peaceful isolation and the active partnership that defined your mature years. The conversations that occur during these visits encompass both practical matterspack welfare, territorial concerns, family developments, and the deeper satisfactions of shared memory and mutual understanding. The relationship continues despite the changing nature of your participation, adapted to new circumstances, but retaining its essential character. The young wolves who seek your counsel now receive guidance through presence rather than words, learning from observation of peaceful acceptance and dignified transition. Your example provides lessons about aging and mortality that cannot be taught through instruction but must be witnessed and absorbed through experience. The teaching continues, even as your active involvement in pack life diminishes to almost nothing. Weather patterns that once demanded immediate response now provide sensory entertainment and connection to the broader rhythms of existence. Rain feels like gentle communication from the sky. Wind carries messages that require no translation or response, and temperature changes register as information about the world's continuing activities rather than challenges to be met. The relationship with environmental conditions evolves from tactical to aesthetic, from survival-focused to appreciative. The grass beneath your resting place continues to smell like wet socks and optimism, and this persistent aromatic combination has become a source of quiet amusement and philosophical acceptance. The scent represents the world's stubborn insistence on hope, despite evidence that might justify pessimism, the natural tendency toward renewal and growth that persists through all individual transitions. Your final reconciliation with this olfactory reality feels like achieving wisdom that was always available but required decades to appreciate. The distinction between your individual existence and the broader patterns of pack and territorial life becomes increasingly fluid, as if the boundaries of selfhood were dissolving into something larger and more permanent. Your consciousness feels simultaneously more concentrated and more diffuse, focused on immediate sensory experiences while connected to vast networks of relationship and responsibility that extend far beyond personal identity. The approaching transformation feels neither frightening nor particularly significant, simply the next phase in a process that has been unfolding throughout your existence. The same natural progression that carried you from helpless puphood through awkward adolescence to competent maturity continues to operate, guiding you toward whatever comes after individual participation in pack life. The transition feels as natural as seasonal change, as inevitable as the turning of day into night. Time stretches and compresses around you like a comfortable blanket that adjusts to your needs rather than imposing external demands. Moments of acute awareness alternate with periods of peaceful drift, creating a rhythm that feels perfectly calibrated to your current requirements. The urgency that once drove daily decisions gives way to patient appreciation of whatever experiences present themselves. The pack's future extends ahead of you like a path you've helped to establish but will not travel, and this limitation provides satisfaction rather than regret. Your contribution to that future includes territory maintained, knowledge transmitted, and examples set through decades of gradual competence and eventual wisdom. The continuation of pack life beyond your participation represents success rather than abandonment, completion rather than interruption. Your breathing slows to match the deeper rhythms of seasonal change and territorial continuity, each breath connecting you to the ancient patterns that govern all wolf existence. The air carries the accumulated sense of your territory, your pack, and your life, creating an aromatic summary of experience that feels both comprehensive and complete. The inhalation of familiar scents provides connection to everything that has mattered, while the exhalation releases the immediate demands that have structured your existence. The final awareness that emerges from this peaceful dissolution is simple gratitude for the journey completed and the life fully lived within the constraints and opportunities that defined your particular existence. The fumbling puppy who once struggled with basic coordination has become a wolf who achieved everything necessary for a successful life survival, reproduction, contribution, and finally, peaceful acceptance of natural completion.